dramatizing. It's not making it more dramatic. What it is you're actually playing it out. You physically play it out rather than just having a character say it. Show, don't tell. It's another thing you've probably heard. Bad example of this, Star Wars Episode 9, Finn's side plot. So they get to this planet and they meet this girl there that used to be a stormtrooper, and Finn and her get to talking.
We mutinied at the Battle of Enset Island. They told us to fire on civilians. We wouldn't do it. We laid our weapons down.
All of you?
The whole company.
And she tells it, and it's a very inspiring story, but show us that. Like, let us see that. That would be so cool. And actually, for Episode 9, they almost did that. The previous draft, Colin Trevorrow's version, Duel of the Fates, they actually had that. Finn is fighting the First Order on Coruscant, and there's all these stormtroopers, and by the end of the movie, he turns all the stormtroopers, and they rebel against the Empire, and that's how they win. And that would have been really cool to see. Like, that's how you dramatize. You show it on screen, and it's a hard thing to do, which is why it's so much easier just to write in.
We mutinied at the Battle of Enset Island.
Okay, so Star Wars Episode 9. Sorry, I keep whacking on that movie. It's not so much that I hate it, I just like taking apart the engine and putting it back together and seeing, oh, that's how it works, that's how they built it. Poe's character, in his one scene where he talks about his character, he talks to this lady from his past, and he's telling her about the end events of The Last Jedi, where they sent out a signal to the whole galaxy, nobody responded. But it's done all in dialogue, and after a whole bunch of other dialogue about his backstory, and I didn't pick it up. So by the end of that movie, when everybody in the galaxy shows up to save them, I was like, no. Like, it came out of nowhere. It was kind of a clunky setup. It's not dramatized. It's not shown to you. It's just told to you in dialogue, reminded to you that, oh, this thing happened in the other movie. Flashbacks are kind of a crutch, but you could do that. Okay, let me tell you, this is my fan way that I would do it. At the end of Last Jedi, there's that scene with the little Force-sensitive kid and the other kids, and one of the kids is telling the tale of Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master.
If you would have carried that thread, had that be a setup for the next movie, maybe even all these kids just like telling that story, you could show the message of the Resistance traveling through the galaxy. That would be a great setup, and you show it. And you'd feel that, because you're like, oh, like all these kids are thinking this is the coolest thing, and it kind of gets through to their parents. Maybe you see the parents watching that and they're like, is this true? Did this happen? And they're like, yes, Luke Skywalker. That's just an idea. That's what I wanted to see. That would have been a perfect setup for everyone in the galaxy showing up. And that would be show, don't tell. The way they did it is Poe just says what happened in the last movie. I'll say why that's bad by using a couple good examples. The Russo brothers' Marvel movies, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. So Civil War, it deals with the collateral damage of the Avengers, of all the Marvel movies up to that point.
And who, frankly, seem unconcerned about what they leave behind.
You could have just had them be in a boardroom and say, oh, you did all these things. And they did do that. But what they also did is they dramatized it in that movie. They had a scene where they're fighting Crossbones, and he has this suicide bomb on him. He's gonna blow up in this crowded market. Wanda puts a force field around him, lifts him up into the air, but he blows up by this building, killing however many people. You feel that. You feel that in the movie that you're in. That's dramatizing. You feel it for the rest of the movie because they did that. They remind you of the last movies, and they make it happen again in this movie. The other one would be Endgame. Big fallout event from Infinity War, the snap. Big spoiler if you haven't seen this movie. If you haven't seen it, you're not going to watch it. But here we go. The snap.
What did you do? What did you do?
50% of all life in the universe is wiped out. That's a big event. That makes a good end to a movie. Very big, tragic. You felt it in the end of that movie. But if they would have just reminded you, oh, this thing happened in the last movie, that would have been horrible. What they do is they have a scene where their first plan is to go get the stones from Thanos, unsnap it. That's their plan.
This is gonna work, Steve.
I know it will. Because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't.
They go to Thanos. The stones are gone. It's not an option. Out of just frustration and rage, Thor cuts his head off. You feel it again, that empty failure feeling of, oh, that's permanent. We cannot solve this. They're dead forever. It cuts to black and you just feel it. That's how you know it works. You don't want to just trust that they've watched the last movie, because they're not always going to watch the movie right before this one. You want to make them feel it again in the present time in this one. It's that immediate, similar to how suspense works. It's immediate. You want it to happen in the moment. You want to dramatize it. As a writer, if you're writing a scene where somebody's telling about their backstory, rethink that. The audience needs to actually experience it. That's dramatizing.